Hello, all you bird of prey stealers out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor. And can we ever ride on your bird of prey?
It's not as narrow a category as you might think. They seem to get stolen all the time in the Star Trek universe.
True. My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
Yay, what's up?
I heard a podcast rule today that you're not supposed to talk until I say your name. Otherwise, people get confused.
Well, too late.
Like, I don't know if they're supposed to think that I'm doing two different voices or something.
They're like, wait, that guy wasn't introduced. Who might he be?
I didn't introduce myself, though, either, so...
Yeah, so you're not allowed to talk ever.
It's like a bootstrap paradox. How do you get the podcast to start?
Yep, podcast can never start. It's a shame.
Today, we're going to discuss and review Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 14, Return to Grace. Alternate title, Pirates of Cardassia, the Caging of the Bird of Prey.
Yeah, I kind of like Pirates of Cardassia. I don't know that the rest was necessary.
Well, I mean, you gotta have like a colon and then a rest of the titles, so... It's just the rule.
Okay.
Just trust me. Have you ever seen a Pirates movie without a colon in the middle?
No, I don't guess so. Even the first Pirates had like Curse of the Black Pearl, right? So
You got to do it.
Oh, there's a famous adult film called Pirates that's just pirates. So I was Googling for Pirates movies, and that's what came up without the colon.
Okay, so you can do it, but it's got to be porn.
Yeah. Although apparently it also has a sequel, and that one does have a colon, because I guess you can't just call it Pirates 2. It's got to be something else.
Sure.
So, yeah, there you go.
As always, you can expect full spoilers up through this episode being discussed, a possible small number of minor spoilers for later in the series, but we'll keep those to an appropriate minimum. Pirates of Cardassia, whatever this is called, Return to Grace, originally aired on February 5th, 1996. It was written by Hans Beimler, story by Tom Benko, and directed by Jonathan West. These are all relatively new guys, aren't they?
I was going to say, I think we know Hans Beimler. Like, the name is familiar to me. Oh, that's because he just did The Sword of Kahless not long ago.
Right. I think you were saying that he just started as a writer this season or something. Yeah. And then Tom Benko, I'm pretty sure we had. And then I definitely remember Jonathan West, because I think I said Jonathan West Desperado.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, let's see. Tom Benko, this episode isn't on this list. Oh, maybe it's... Okay. He's got so many episodes that the list couldn't show it all? Is that what's happening here?
Nice.
It says he only has 16 DS9 episodes, and I think it shows... What's this one called?
Return to Grace.
Yeah, it's not on this list. In the wiki, it doesn't show up on his list. He did 40 episodes... Oh, because this is as editor. He did 40 episodes of The Next Generation as editor. Apparently, he didn't direct or write a whole bunch of stories, because he doesn't even have an here are the stories he wrote section. He also wrote stories for 2 Deep Space Nine episodes: The House of Quark and Return to Grace.
Okay, I'm pretty sure we actually mentioned this on the House of Quark review, that he was an editor, and we theorized that he was hanging around. And he was like he pitched an episode or something.
Yeah, he also directed 2 Next Gen episodes, Transfigurations and Devil's Due, which not 2 of the most popular ones. I like Devil's Due.
I think we talked about this too.
Yeah, probably.
Whatever, nobody remembers. We can talk about it again.
And I like this part, which maybe I also read, but it says he worked as editor for director Corey Allen on the television pilot Infiltrator. The pilot did not sell, but Allen called Benko to work for him on the pilot of Star Trek The Next Generation. So I guess Corey Allen was like, hey, you did good work. Let's do Encounter at Farpoint. And so that got him into the Star Trek thing.
Nice.
And then it says, at the start of The Next Generation, he asked to direct an episode because he'd had experience as second unit director on segments of The Rockford Files, Kojak, and Battlestar Galactica.
Huh.
So he's like, hey, I directed kind of some stuff. Can I do one?
Yeah, why not? Let him do an episode. And what about Jonathan West? I think...
Right, okay.
I think we've
Jonathan
had one or
West.
two of him before.
Yeah, I'm almost certain that we've seen some Jonathan West before. Like, that name is very familiar. Okay, he recently did Shakar. That's why we know him.
Oh, okay.
He did one episode of The Next Generation, and he will do 4 more episodes of Deep Space Nine after this, but only 4.
Oh, okay.
Although he does director of photography on, like, it has him as director of photography for season 3, season 4, except for 3 episodes, one of which is this one. So I guess he's like, I can't director of photography. I'm busy directoring.
Sure.
And then 5, 6, and 7, once again, it's like, except for certain episodes in each of those seasons, he was the DP. So.
So we will see him again. We have seen him before. We will see him again.
Like Zial.
Yes.
Although we will not see this actress for Zial again. This is her last appearance.
Oh, no. The Pussycat Dolls actress.
Yeah. The next time this character shows up, she will be played by Tracy Middendorf, who previously played a Cardassian on the show already.
Huh. Yeah, I guess we'll talk about that when it gets to it. That name sounds familiar, though.
Yeah.
So after not 1, but 2 unskippable ads on my supposedly ad-free Paramount Plus account, we join Kira and Dr. Bashir in the infirmary, where Kira gets a bunch of shots in preparation for an upcoming intelligence-sharing conference with the Cardassians in Cardassian space, apparently. Kira admits she's only going because Shakar took her out to her favorite restaurant and gave her a killer massage. So, if you want your girl to go on an intelligence-sharing conference, take her out, give her a nice massage.
Yep, that's how I do it every time.
Yeah. I mean, you'll be sharing that intelligence in no time. Worf comes in with a list of intelligence he doesn't want her to share with the Cardassians, but that the Klingons already know. So this stuff is complicated. However, Kira is sick from all the injections and runs away to throw up or something.
She reads the list real quick, and she's like, okay, is that everything? And he's like, yeah, and then she runs off. And I was like, so you didn't need any details. And I guess it must not have been that long a list if she could read it in 1 second, and then it was like, okay, I got it.
Right. I assume she studied the list later or something.
Yeah, they probably let her take the pad with her if it's just a list of the stuff not to talk about. It's not like that's top secret.
Just don't talk about photon torpedo guidance systems at all. Just don't go there. If they ask about that, just don't say anything.
Yeah.
Later in her quarters, the doorbell rings. It's Gul Dukat, just showing up on the station without anyone apparently paying any notice. Just showed up in his cargo ship and just wandered freely around the station.
Well, apparently it's not like a surprise that this ship is coming, and so maybe he's just so unimportant now that nobody cares.
It seemed to be a surprise to Kira.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Nobody told her because, like, they knew the ship was coming. They don't tell her, the captain of every ship that shows up.
True. I mean, at some point, doesn't the captain have to call up and be like, "Hey, can I dock at the space station?" But
yeah, presumably.
Maybe Damar did that.
Cisco's just up in ops, and he's like, "Yeah, go ahead and dock," and and doesn't bother to say anything to anybody.
He's like, "Huh, Gul Dukat is a freighter captain now. All right,
yeah, whatever."
But Dukat explains that he's here to fly Kira to the conference on his new ship. You see, ever since he came back to Cardassia with his half-Bajoran love child, he has gone through a series of personal and professional setbacks, including being disowned by his mother, and boy, how I want to meet Dukat's mother, left by his wife and kids, demoted from his cushy government job, and being assigned to command a crappy freighter / dignitary transport.
Yeah, like the Cardassians just sent whoever was. Why do they even need like a Cardassian ship to take her? Can't she just take a runabout or something?
Yeah, this is because the episode needs to happen.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
But he's not mad. After all, he was, in his own words, indiscreet.
Oh my gosh, it's the episode.
He said the name of the episode, the previous episode he was in.
I do like how he goes on at length about like, yeah, thanks to you, all this happened. And then she's like, well, you can blame me if you want. He's like, oh, no, I don't blame you. And I was like, you just spent 5 minutes telling her how it's her fault. Don't give me that.
Right. But he promises everything he's lost, he's going to get back again. I gotta say, okay, I watched this episode 2 times.
Okay.
The first time I put on the German dubbing in preparation for my trip to Germany, And this is about the point when I the first time I just completely lost track of what was happening in the episode. But aboard Dukat's crappy freighter on the way to the conference, Kira is visited by Zial, who is happy to be living with her father. Which I have to admit, it's probably a nice change of pace from being a Breen mining slave.
Yeah, for however many years that was. It was a while.
Yeah.
So. Really, anything's going to be an improvement.
He doesn't whip me. He doesn't make me mine dilithium.
Well, not most of the time anyway. Every once in a while. It's like, who do we have on board the ship who's really good at mining dilithium? Oh, I know.
Then an alarm goes off. A battle drill. Kira and Zial head to the bridge to spectate as Dukat, his seeming second-in-command Damar, and a bunch of Cardassians with no lines simulate battle against an asteroid. But Dukat is not pleased with the performance, and doesn't find Kira's advice very helpful.
Yeah. So Damar is played by a guy named Casey Biggs, and it says that initially he was very disappointed with this part, which he felt any extra could have played. So I guess he was like, I'm bigger than this part that you're giving me. But
this is cutting into my movie career.
Yeah. Director Jonathan West was like, no, the writers have big plans for Damar. And as such, West shot him as if he were a major character with plenty of close-ups and reaction shots. So you may notice that as we go through the episode.
I mean, all of his lines are just looking at the computer and saying what it says, but
like that lady in Galaxy Quest.
Yeah. Those close-ups indicate this is a major character.
Yep.
So maybe we'll see him again. Who knows?
Probably not. He complains so much about this role not being big enough for him, they shouldn't bring him back.
And then Dukat expresses frustration at the crappiness of his ship. Dukat invites Kira to dinner, where he creepily asks her about her love life.
Yeah, it's super creepy.
Saying she clearly likes powerful men. Mm. And he hopes to get his old job back, so he can get in on that.
Yeah, it's just... and I love she just, laughs in his face, and it's like, good to see you haven't lost your sense of humor.
Kira's mellowing over the past 4 seasons is more evident than ever, as this does not result in a fist-sized hole in his face.
It's true.
So, Kira's growing up to, let stuff roll off her back or whatever, I don't know. The alarm goes off again. And this is no drill.
Well, he's with her, so she's like, "Is this another drill?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not there supervising it, so no."
Maybe he could have another person in charge of drills so that he can also drill himself.
Yeah,
you never know. Yeah. But apparently not. He's aware of the drill schedule, and this is not a drill. This is an Alderaan situation. The site of the conference has been destroyed, and then suddenly a ship decloaks in front of them. Klingons. But the bird of prey pays them no mind, outraging Dukat for their arrogance.
We're not even good enough to be destroyed.
He fires on the bird of prey, which has absolutely no effect.
Yeah, not only does he fire, but Kira's like, hey, here's their weakest point. Shoot directly at this.
Right. So he didn't even get through the armor. The bird of prey yawns and goes to warp without doing them the honor of blowing them up. Dukat is defeated, saying, "We have to call someone who doesn't suck to come get these guys."
I hope Shakar feels bad. He manipulated her into going to this conference, and then everyone at the conference was murdered by the Klingons.
Yeah, that's... she's gonna have some yelling to do when she gets home. But Kira is in her element, underestimated against a powerful foe. She points out that the nearest Cardassian warship is days away. Why don't we grab one of the big defense disruptors from the destroyed outpost and shove it in the cargo bay? Dukat is skeptical, but Kira sells him on it, even on dumping his valuable cargo to make room.
Yeah, I do like the note that Cardassian captains get a cut of the cargo. So this is
sure,
that's the way things worked, here. Maybe they still do for all I know. But I remember not long ago reading when I was rereading The Count of Monte Cristo, and it's like, yeah, the captain gets a percentage of the thing. I was like, oh, well, see, there you go. So the Cardassians the same way.
After the commercial, they have the disruptor hooked up. The first test isn't perfect, but shows promise. Dukat's mood is elevated. He is excited to blow up that bird of prey and get himself returned to grace. But he continues his creepy hitting on Kira, much to Kira's displeasure.
Yeah, he just won't let it go.
He's pushing some boundaries here. Later, Kira trains Zial on some weapons. Where that Federation rifle came from, who knows?
Right, I was like, do you just happen to have one with you at all times?
So I'm taking this rifle with me.
So the note is that the comparative analysis of the Starfleet Type 3 phaser rifle versus the Cardassian disruptor rifle mirrors the real-world debate in military circles between the American M16 and the Soviet AK-47.
Oh.
So I guess the M16 has like multiple target acquisition automatic
right.
something or other.
So I did a little research, and the Cardassian phase disruptor rifle, which we've already had this conversation about whether Cardassians use phasers or disruptors. Yep. And apparently at some point they just mixed it together into phase disruptors. But she says it has a 4.7 megajoule power capacity.
Okay.
An M16 rifle has a muzzle energy of about 1,600 joules, according to Wikipedia.
Okay.
So assuming that one shot from the phase disruptor is roughly equivalent to that's a capacity of a little under 3,000 shots. So not bad.
No, yeah, that's not bad.
And, you might even assume that a futuristic phase disruptor can put out more energy in a shot.
I mean, anything's got to be better than whatever they were using in Picard that was just, like, constantly ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like we've reverted to, like, pump shotgun technology with, like, 2 shots.
That runs out very quickly, yeah, exactly.
Zial tells Kira that Dukat feels bad for the bad stuff he did during the occupation, but Kira is not moved, surprisingly.
He feels bad about being Hitler. Like, can't you give him a break?
Kira insists she'll never forgive Dukat.
Yeah, I don't blame her. Honestly, as you pointed out, she's much nicer working with him than she has, like, we have any expectation that she should be, so I think that she's being generous as is.
Maybe that whole, like, sand spike in the butt incident just really helped them bond,
like,
or something.
Every time that she gets mad at him, she just thinks about that sand spike and is just like, oh man, that was hilarious.
Remember that time he was twerking with that sand spike in his butt? So Kira and Dukat look at a map and try to puzzle out the bird of prey's next target. Dukat is sure it will be Loval, site of a secret Cardassian weapons research base.
That they know about, for reasons.
Yes. This requires the questionable leap of logic that Klingon intelligence is better than they thought. But it turns out to be true, so.
Yep.
It was kind of like a circular argument, where it was like, are they going here? No, probably not. Are they going here? No, probably not. It's like, oh, they must be going here. Because their intelligence must be better than we thought, so they will know to go here.
He said it, like, fits with their pattern. So I guess they were attacking other places that were indicating that their intelligence was better than they thought.
Okay. We've seen Klingon intelligence before. I don't know.
Yeah, they weren't that great in the one episode we saw them, but
I don't know how super impressed I am by them, but
they knew where this conference was happening and had no issue killing a bunch of Bajorans also.
That was, what are the Bajorans going to do, though?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the Bajorans, at least Kira, was specifically there to share intelligence on the Klingons, so I think that makes you a valid target at that point.
But the question is, how do we get close enough for the bird of prey to get off our shot? They decide on the plan from the great Russell Crowe movie, Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World, which came out after this episode, but the book probably existed when they wrote the episode.
So they faked sensor readings in that movie?
Well, they pretended they were a whaling ship filled with whale oil.
That is valuable.
To draw in the French pirate to come attack them. But yeah, they're going to pretend to be hauling dilithium, not whale oil.
Maybe both. You know.
Klingons are like, they have whale oil.
It gets used in Futurama, and that takes place like further in the future than this. So.
Oh yeah. So Dukat hits on Kira some more, using the old "What's a matter, baby? Can't you take a compliment?" line, which always works. They arrive at Loval and wait for the Klingons to show up. Dukat starts talking about a young politician named Gul Dukat, who goes around sleeping with other officers' wives. Dukat dreams of sending Gul Dukat to the Cardassian embassy on Breen, which, we get reminded again, is a very cold place.
It's bitter cold there.
With how many times we've been reminded that Breen is a really cold place, it's like you'd think we're owed a trip to the Breen homeworld.
Right?
Like, soon, but I'm not going to hold out hope.
I will.
In the very next episode, we're going to see the Breen homeworld. Also, I kind of wonder how the existence of a Breen-run mining camp of Cardassian slaves affected Cardassio-Breen relations.
Yeah, last time when we saw the Cardassians having the slave camp of Bajorans that they claimed didn't exist, that didn't seem to really damage relations there.
At that point, the relations weren't very good.
That's true,
to begin with,
but they have improved considerably since then. So,
like, there was no Cardassian embassy on Bajor at that point.
Yeah,
and there is a Cardassian embassy on Breen, which I'm kind of surprised to hear. So the Klingons arrive, and the plan is set into motion, with a bunch of crazy extra steps. As expected, the Klingons try to seize the ship and its fake dilithium cargo. This brings them close enough to blast them with the big disruptor. Then, the Cardassians beam onto the bird of prey, hack their transporters, and beam all the Klingons onto the freighter, which Dukat blows up.
Yeah, so the very beginning, when they get the shots off, they blow 2 giant holes in that bird of prey.
Right.
And then we cut to the bridge on the bird of prey, and everything is fine.
Yeah, there's not sparks flying everywhere. Or...
Yeah, it was like the most chill that we've ever seen a bridge of a ship during a battle, I feel like, and the most damage that we've seen a ship without exploding, I think.
Yeah. But apparently, Damar, he's just a really good ship repairer.
Yep.
So he got it fixed pretty fast.
He did. So, apparently, in the original pitch, Dukat and Kira beam across to the Klingon ship, they overpower the bridge crew, and then subsequently the entire rest of the ship's crew.
All by themselves?
Yes.
Nice.
And director Jonathan West was like, okay, that's ridiculous. Viewers are not going to buy that one Cardassian and one Bajoran overpower 60 Klingon warriors by themselves.
Probably.
But I don't know what to replace that with. And then assistant director B.C. Cameron suggested that they beam to engineering and take control of the transporters and swap the crews. And so it says she and West approached Ira Stephen Bear, who was not entirely happy about losing the action-packed conclusion, but who acquiesced in the end.
I'm just imagining the old boy, or I guess also the Daredevil hallway fight scene.
Oh, yeah.
Just with Kira and Dukat battling their way through a million Klingons.
Already, I was not impressed with the Klingons' fighting skills in this episode. Every time, I'm just like, you're Klingons. You're supposed to be better than this.
Yeah. I was also... there's no attempt to explain how Kira knows the Klingon transporter codes.
Nope, she was just like, you just gotta know Klingon transporter codes. Maybe that was part of the intelligence from Bajoran intelligence that she was here to share.
She was looking through the intelligence, she was like, ooh, transporter codes.
Yeah, exactly.
We can use this. I also it was cleverly set up that when Kira and Dukat are down in engineering, it cuts to the captain of the bird of prey who orders somebody to lock in all weapons on the freighter. So that later, when Dukat's on the bridge, all he has to do is push one button and it blows up the...
They did it very nicely, yeah.
Yeah. Nice bit of setup there.
I don't know why Kira is surprised by this happening.
Right.
I was like, I never expected anything else to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know why she's acts upset that the Klingons got blown up, even though the whole revenge mission was her idea.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what she thought the end game was going to be when they shot them with this giant disruptor.
Yeah, I mean, you're lucky that the disruptor didn't blow up the ship, and now you can take it, I guess. But it's just I mean, I guess if you really wanted to kill them, you could have just beamed them into space, and then they kept the Cardassian ship also. But
that probably would have been smarter, actually.
Yeah.
So that they're like, we're on the Cardassian ship. find that big disruptor and get ready to shoot it.
Yeah, or like, get the transporters and beam us back. Or, whatever.
Yeah. Maybe there's like safeties on the transporters that won't let you beam people into space or something.
There probably should be, right?
Yeah. At the very least, who knows with Klingon technology?
that's true. It's like the Klingon.
But there should be.
Yeah, no.
Although, maybe you don't want the transporter operator being drunk on blood wine and then just like,
whoops.
I beamed the whole boarding party into space again.
Not again.
I suck. Kira finds a list of all the Klingons' targets in Cardassian space. Dukat is quite pleased and decides to call this in to the Detapa Council and get his job back.
Get that Gul Moret sent off to Breen.
Yes, Moret is as good as on Breen. But he soon comes back and stands weirdly in the shadows. The council has given him his job back, so Gul Moret, pack your jacket. But they want to pursue a diplomatic solution to the conflict, which is wise. The best time to negotiate is when you're in a position of strength. But Dukat's not having it. He feels like Cardassia has lost its spine. He wants to put the fear of Cardassia back in the galaxy, and resolves to take on the Klingons all by himself.
Yep. He says he's the only Cardassian left.
Yep. None of the rest of them are Cardassians. This is not a horrible telltale of narcissism and egomania.
No, not at all.
Nothing to worry about here.
But no, according to this, Ira Stephen Bear wrote that line based on the famous statement made by Sioux leader Sitting Bull at a treaty negotiation. When Sitting Bull refused to sign, it was pointed out to him that every other Indian had signed. And he stood up and said, "What other Indians? There are no other Indians but me."
That's, it's a little more badass when Sitting Bull says it,
yeah,
I feel like.
I agree.
So he pitches Kira on joining him and putting her guerrilla warfare expertise to good use. But she does not seem convinced. So she goes down. Zial wants to show Kira a cool knife trick, but Kira drops a little bit of surviving edged weapons knowledge on her ass. She's like, just don't get into a knife fight. Just don't do it.
That is the best way to survive a knife fight. Don't be in one, which is absolutely correct.
Yeah. I mean, surviving edged weapons should teach you that. Kira is disturbed about the path Zial is on and goes back to Dukat to make a counter pitch. The life of a resistance fighter is a crappy one, not one that he wants for his daughter, and he should let Zial come back to Deep Space Nine. He apparently agrees, because we cut to Deep Space Nine, where Dukat drops off Zial and promises to come back for her when the war is over. Dukat is creepily happy about his and Kira's shared affection for his daughter.
Dude's just creepy all the time.
Yeah.
Like there's no way around it.
Yeah, it's just the way he is, I guess. Kira introduces Zial to Odo and promises to tell him all about it later, and he says, "I certainly hope so," in a weird tone of voice that I can't tell is supposed to indicate that his interest is piqued or that he doesn't give a shit and he just wants to go do something else.
I felt like it's like you just bring in Cardassians, like children of Gul Dukat, onto the station all willy-nilly. No, I need more information here.
Yeah, true. Maybe keep an eye on her, keep her away from sensitive areas of the station. But the end. I mean, this totally could be an elaborate spy plant. Who knows?
But yes, so I was wrong about Tracy Middendorf, by the way. She was not. There was a different Tracy who's already appeared as a Cardassian on the show. So, yeah, she's just going to appear as Zial later. But okay. She was, however, in 2 episodes of Alias as Elsa Kaplan, if you remember that famous character. And 3 episodes of Lost as Bonnie, whoever that is.
Oh, sure. I think she was one of the girls who lived underwater. In the season 3 finale.
That would make sense, yeah. Not Charlie's boat. Or not Penny's boat.
Yeah. Yeah, not Penny's boat. R.I.P. Charlie.
And
if you have spent 1 second to get to the other side of that door. But whatever.
And then 9 episodes of Boardwalk Empire as Babette. I don't remember Babette, but
Did she run a Nucky's club or something?
Okay, hold on. We're going to find out. The hostess and manager of the Atlantic City restaurant, Babette's Supper Club.
Okay.
Oh yeah, she's the lady who wears the top hat and like the short blonde curly hair. Okay, seeing the picture, I was like, oh yeah, I remember her.
So this is the one that's going to be Ziel,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Okay. I'm sure we're going to bring up all these facts again when...
It's possible. We do that, clearly. Other interesting things about this episode. The note, Dukat's actions mirror those of Kirk in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, where he blows up his own ship and steals a Klingon bird of prey.
Yeah.
After beaming the Klingons over there.
Uh-huh.
So,
Dukat read some history.
Yeah, or something.
He started with a Master and Commander and then pivoted into a Star Trek 3.
Yep. Armin Shimmerman does not appear in the episode. However, there is a deleted scene where Quark asks Kira to track down a Cardassian who had been assigned to the station during the occupation and was now a member of the Cardassian Ministry of Trade, to demand that he pay his large bar tab.
Nice.
Quark presented Kira with fresh Hasperat, although she turned it down when she heard his request.
Yeah, I mean, there's very little of the rest of the cast.
It's true.
Deep Space Nine. In fact, I have noted there are almost no human characters in this episode. Just basically the beginning and end.
Yeah. Like at the end, Cisco pops up for a minute, but...
Right.
Yeah.
Like I think the whole crew is there. Like Dax and O'Brien and... it's like, oh, we gotta get them in the episode, so...
Do a quick, pick up on another episode when they happen to be in Ops. Hans Beimler was very pleased with Return to Grace. Beimler commented, "I'm very, very happy with that episode. I was happy with the Sword of Kahless, but it was a first effort. I think this was even better."
Yeah.
Tom Benko's original idea for this episode came from the question of what may happen if the Jews and the Nazis were forced to work together after World War II.
That would be weird.
That would be very weird.
I mean, that's a little bit of a muddy issue, because it's like, who is a Nazi?
Yeah, Cardassian is a race as opposed to, that's a fair point.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure many Jews continued to live in Germany side by side with people who had been Nazis. So,
so this the last note in here, potential, I guess spoilers for Dukat's character arc overall, but I'm going to go ahead because I don't think that it's shocking. Although the writers were attempting to create ambiguity as to the inherent nature of Dukat's character, they were never under any doubt that at his core, he was evil. And they always intended to have an incident in the future where that inherent evil would become apparent for everyone once and for all, which it says will happen at this later point. According to Hans Beimler, he's always been a Nazi, always. In this episode, you're aware of different shades to his personality, but if you think about it, they're all very self-serving. This is not a pleasant man. He's done a lot of terrible things.
Yep.
Similarly, Ira Stephen Bear notes, Dukat is not a nice man. He's not a sensitive man. He likes to act like a sensitive man. But he's a man of appetites, to whom public image is very important. Much more important than the truth. He wants to be liked by Kira as much as he likes Kira. I find him reprehensible myself. So, there you go.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty fair analysis.
So in case you thought that Dukat was secretly a good guy, Dukat deep down, he's not.
So if you're on the fence right now about whether he's good or bad, trust us, he's bad. So I think that was supposed to say, how does Kira know the Klingon transporter codes? But I apparently stopped typing in the middle.
You're like, I'm so frustrated with this plot hole that I can't even finish.
It just said how does Kira? So.
How does Kira really?
How does Kira? I mean, how is she just always so Kira?
Was her hair different in this episode than it usually is? It looked weird to me, but I was like, maybe I just haven't noticed it recently.
I think it's been kind of like that all season.
Okay.
A little bit longer, a little bit wavier.
I thought it was pretty short in this episode, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to pull up a picture now.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe she got a haircut recently.
Yeah, it could be.
Anyway, what do you think about the title, Return to Grace?
I see what they're going for, and I mean, you pulled it out in the middle of the episode. It's weird to me because Dukat wants to return to Grace. If you consider for him, that would be returning to Grace. From our perspective, it's like, no, that's just... it's a horrible place to be, but whatever. But the thing is, he doesn't.
Right.
I guess maybe you could say in another way, he's like, well, I'm going to go and be the true Cardassian, and maybe that's the returning to grace. Like, to the heart of the Cardassian people, which is murdering Klingons or whatever, being feared by the galaxy. But it doesn't... I don't feel like it fits, because if he's wanting to do that, but then he doesn't, then the episode title still doesn't fit. And it doesn't pass my test of, if you say the name of this episode, I don't know what episode you're talking about.
Yeah, it definitely has that problem. I mean, a good story, you always start off with a character thinking they want one thing, but then learning they really want another thing or something.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, at the very least, I understand what they're trying to say, basically.
True. Which
is that Dukat wants to return to grace or whatever,
as opposed to the ones where you have no idea what the hell they're trying to say. So yeah, I get that.
What the hell does crossfire mean? I still don't understand what the wire means. Like, I think, did we decide that it was because he had a wire in his brain or something?
No, I think it was like, that was like the name of some like specific con or something. I don't remember now. Yeah, like I feel like we Googled it and something came out that was like, oh, maybe that's what it means. But
right, I know we spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. I don't know if we ever figured it out. People can go back and listen to that episode.
let me go back and listen to that episode real quick.
Come back here and tell us what we decided on. Okay, episode rating.
What do you think? How do you rate? I almost said The Wire. Okay. The Return to Grace.
Right. Okay, so my review basically goes along with the point we just made about Dukat a little bit ago. So here's my notes. First of all, Dukat's interest in Kira gives me the heebie-jeebies. And I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing. Like, I'm not sure if it's a, like, I'm supposed to be feeling that, or...
Right.
I kind of like the way this moves the Dukat story along. I'm, like, we can clearly tell they have a direction for this, which is nice. But by this point, even if I didn't know some of Dukat's possible later treacherous actions, I just never trust or believe anything Dukat says or any of the intentions he expresses.
Yeah.
So I just never can get invested in his character. I mean, other than that, I mean, it's a Kira-centric episode, but I mean, I feel like the Kira story isn't really that in the foreground, It's like she doesn't really have an arc or learn any lessons or something. She just kind of like realizes, oh, hey, this is a bad situation for like a young woman to be in, and I was like that once, and I want to spare somebody from that.
Yeah, you never even really get the impression that she's tempted to accept this offer in the least. So.
Right, and then they even call that out, where he was like, were you ever even tempted? And she was like, no, not really.
Yeah. Well,
which is, I call that the Luke Skywalker problem, where,
okay,
there, at no point did I ever feel like Luke Skywalker ever wanted to turn to the dark side.
Okay.
And rule the galaxy. Mm-hmm. Like, he just wanted to achieve the goals of the rebellion. So, yeah. So it didn't really feel like there was a dilemma, that's for sure. But, I mean, it's a fun enough episode, Got a little bit of Master and Commander action. I think the last part is a little slow. The part after they, steal the bird of prey. But...
yeah, I can see that.
I mean, it's fun enough. I'm going to give it a Lieutenant Commander.
Okay.
What do you think?
So, generally, I like when Dukat shows up.
Sure.
But I think it's mostly because he's a fun antagonist.
Yeah.
Which he's not now. Or in this episode, at least. Now, Kira has to, even in the last time we saw him, he and Kira have this very adversarial relationship, even though they have to work together. Because she finds out, she doesn't like him, but she finds out he's going to kill his daughter, and she's like, I can't let you do that. And so there's he's still an antagonist in a lot of ways.
Right.
This time he's not. This time we're supposed to try to be friends with him, and he's super creepy and gross.
Yeah.
So I don't love that. like, this may be one of the times when I like him the least, like, as a character here. And I don't feel that, like you say, it, as far as our main characters are concerned, this is a Kira episode, because there's nobody else for it to be about.
Right.
So it's a Kira episode. But she doesn't, other than, like, ew, get away from me, Dukat, like, she doesn't have a conflict. She doesn't have, like, even like an internal sort of conflict where, like, when Dukat wants to fire on the ship, she's like, no, we would get killed instantly. But as soon as the ship's gone, she's like, okay, now we have a chance to plan and actually do something. I do want to destroy them just as much as you do. And so she comes up with the plan. They execute the plan. Dukat really doesn't contribute much of anything, honestly. And then he gives his whole speech, which the whole time it's like, you think these sound like fun things that she would want to do again? Like,
right.
Even it's like, even as the viewer, I don't think that you're saying anything convincing, and she clearly doesn't either. So she's never conflicted for a second, except maybe when it comes to Zial. Like, she's like, man, I like this kid, but I really hate her dad, and she really wants me to like her dad, and I feel kind of bad about that, but not bad enough to, like, pull my punches when I'm like, no, I hate your dad, and I'm never going to like him. So there's just not much that I find in this episode that I think is relatable or interesting from a character perspective, or even all that enjoyable. I mean, there's a couple of fun moments, I guess. Like, I kind of like when she talks him into putting the cannon in there, and he really doesn't want to, and then you find out it's because, oh, right, he's going to make money off of this. That's why he doesn't want to. So you see how much his patriotism and need to get revenge for Cardassia stretches when he's like, oh, but my money, though.
Right.
Like, this crappy job has this one benefit, and I'd really like to... Honestly, I was like, so they destroyed the place where you're going to have this meeting. Like, you're, like, at a planet, and there was a building on the planet they ran the meeting at or something, I guess. And they destroyed it. I was like, why don't you beam your stuff down there, and then you could come back and get it later, assuming you survive. Like, why is this even an issue? But anyway, so the only positive thing I can say about this episode is that I really like what it sets up for down the line. Because this is one of those episodes that's like, I didn't particularly like the path that we took to get here, because I don't care that much about Dukat wanting to return to his former glory, because I don't need to see him there or whatever. But it sets up some good story for down the line. Spoilers. So, but I don't think that's enough to push the episode in and of itself over the line for me. So I'm going to call it Lieutenant.
Okay. I mean, yeah, there's some villains that, like, you know, you really want to get in their head. You know, you can get some good drama about that.
Yeah.
But it's like, Dukat is not a villain that you want to get in his head. And, like, even his motivations that he says, I don't believe them. I think he just wants more power.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. I wouldn't mind getting in his head from a villain perspective if it was actually getting in his head. Here, It's just like, what lie can I tell to try to get in her pants? Which is gross. So
yeah. So this is, I feel kind of like Kira in the episode, where it's like, I'm just spending too much time with Dukat, and it's I'm not enjoying it. I mean, Dukat's like, you know, he's like Kaiwen, you know. It's like, she exists to make me mad. So I don't want to hang out with her for very long.
See, even a previous time that we've had to work with Dukat in the what's it called? The episode where the station turns against them.
Civil defense.
Yeah, civil defense. Even there, he's fun when he's like playing,
right?
He's like acting all superior and like, Garrick's cowering back there. Man, this is the best day ever. And then he's still a little bit fun when, you know, you have to be on his side after he gets his comeuppance, but partly because it's like, we saw you get told off, and now your passcodes don't work either, and now you have to try to help. This one, you don't get that. This one, we're supposed to sympathize with him, I guess, but he's so gross that it's hard to.
Yeah.
And I don't want to.
Yeah. And then, Kira's she's not really doing much except bearing witness to what's going on with Dukat.
Well, except, like I said, she basically comes up and executes the entire plan. And Dukat is just like supervising, quote unquote. I'm doing air quotes when I say supervising. Right. But
I mean, they almost might as well have just made a Dukat-centric episode.
Yeah.
Without Kira.
Yeah.
And he just shows up at Deep Space Nine at the end. He's like, hey, can you take care of my daughter for me?
That would be an interesting approach. Just a secondary character, even an antagonistic secondary character, and you just dedicate a whole episode to them, and you don't really see the station at all.
Mm.
That I think that's a little more ballsy than they have the guts for at this point in television.
Yeah, I mean nowadays, especially on like the fancy cable and streaming shows and stuff. Mm. Yeah, you might see stuff like that, but they're still kind of in the old school TV formula on Deep Space Nine.
Exactly. I mean, you go to like The Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett can spend an entire episode with characters from a different show that have nothing to do with this show or are only tangentially related to this show and get away with it. Although I don't know if they get away with it because I'm calling them out on it and everybody's calling them out on it. But anyway, but they're willing to do that. Like the Deep Space Nine could not do that.
Mm-hmm.
Voyager, I think, comes close a couple of times where there's a couple of episodes, I think, that you spend largely not with the Voyager crew or like in somebody's head somewhere. But I guess you could be in somebody's head on a Deep Space Nine episode. We did that with Julian Bashir, so maybe it's the same thing.
Yeah. How fun that was.
Best episode ever.
Yep.
So you got me. I'm thinking about Voyager because to date when this episode is, today is the day the first 2 episodes of the new season of Lower Decks came out. And as they had the Deep Space Nine episode last season, they did kind of a Voyager episode as the first episode of this season. And so a lot of Voyager plot lines and references and stuff popping back in. So you got me thinking about it.
Nice. I mean, even Lost, I think Lost was a big pioneer of that, where it was just like, you know what, we're not going to see any of our main characters this episode. We're just going to spend a day with Ben or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, Lost did a whole, get you used to the main characters for a season, and then the next season it's different main characters for a while now.
Yeah. And then, or it's like, hey, John Locke is just gone for 5 episodes. and then we're just going to get an all John Locke episode. Anyway, any final thoughts?
Preview of next week's episode.
Right.
So, next week was hard for me to encompass entirely. I feel like there's a little bit of 47 Ronin in there.
Ooh.
And there's a little bit of Total Recall. But then there's a lot of just Klingon crap.
Okay, so a little bit of 47 Ronin. A little bit of Total Recall. Get your ass to Mars.
Yeah, exactly. That's said several times in the next episode, I'm pretty sure.
And then a lot of Klingons. Okay.
Yeah.
How long are you staying here? 2 weeks. So look forward to that. But yeah, I guess that's it. So if you made it this far, thanks for listening. Don't forget to check that description. Sometimes I put links to stuff in there. Or, whatever. Maybe I'll just put a middle finger in there. Who knows? But I'm Fletcher, about to say goodbye as Data.
Adios.
Until we meet again. Keep the blood wine warm, but the prune juice chilled.